But Lepore, we got to talk about the Leafs goaltending first.
Sure. Always.
Because, you talk about Jekyll and Hyde. It's been Jekyll and Hyde with Samsonov and Murray and their home and road splits this season. Samsonov has been an absolute monster at home. He's not been great on the road, and it's been the opposite with Matt Murray. He's been good on the road, terrible at home. He's been terrible since he came back from injury. Just reading off some Matt Murray stats, since he returned from injury in 6 games, he's 3-3 with an .886 save percentage and a .368 goals against, and has allowed 4 goals in 5 of those 6 starts since returning from injury. So what the hell's going on here? Are we going to get to a point, Lepore, where it's going to be Samsonov in net to start the series at home against Tampa in the first couple of games, and then they go on the road in Tampa, and is Murray going to play on the road?
Can you imagine?
And then Joseph Woll, who's been unbelievable this season. You want to talk about stats, Lepore? In 19 games with the Marlies, Joseph Woll is 16-2-1 with a .930 save percentage and a .229 GAA. And in 4 games at the NHL level this year, he's 3-1 with a .934 save percentage and a .203 goals against. His numbers have improved at the NHL level, and maybe that's because he's just playing behind a much better team. But my goodness, it's hard to ignore how well he's played. So, Lepore, please help me sort out what the hell is going on with this goaltending situation. It's a never-ending conversation.
Yeah. It's funny because every couple of weeks, we talk about goaltending. We're a Leafs podcast. We're going to talk about the guys in between the pipes. And I find every couple of weeks, you can have a take. There were phases of the season where even if Murray wasn't playing well and dealing with some injuries, you could say, okay, he's the vet. He's the guy. We brought him in. When it comes playoff time, it'll be Matt Murray. Like deep down, you kind of thought, yeah, it'll be Murray game 1 against Tampa. Then Samsonov kind of got more comfortable as the season's gone on. And you're like, no debate. There's no debate that Samsonov is the starter. Murray just hasn't been good enough. We figured it out. Then Woll comes in and is just, like you said, unbelievable. His numbers don't make sense. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do next year, because if Joseph Woll has shown us anything, it's that he's too good for the AHL. Those are video game numbers, what you just spat out. So I'm a firm believer that you let guys cook in the AHL as long as you can, especially goalies. So when they come to the NHL, they're overly ripe. But it does get to a point where, like, okay, this might hamper his development, or this could help us win because this kid might be that good. So I hate to be that Leaf fan who thinks ahead, but decisions are going to have to be made in the summer. And the easy one is to say we're going to blast away Murray either by trade. And I've heard people talk about buyouts, and it's one of the most popular calculations on Money Puck and Puckpedia, the buyout calculators. But I don't know if I see the Leafs going that way, taking money on the books with their types of contracts. So that'll be a storyline, man. That'll be a storyline. Where do you see it? Like right now, the point you made, and I know it's a topic of one of them starting at home, one of them starting away because of the numbers they've put up, but we're not going to do that.
No, there's no way the Leafs are going to do that.
Like the Leafs go up 2-0. Samsonov looks great. Okay, we're going to Murray in game 3. No, we're not going to do that. So, how do you see it right now? Like the playoffs start tomorrow. Like, do you see Samsonov, Murray, and still Woll in the distance?
Yeah, Samsonov is definitely going to be the guy. I think Murray is going to end up being the backup, as good as Joseph Woll has been. And you can make the argument that maybe Joseph Woll is the best Leafs goaltender. I know that that's a take. That's a strong take. He's only played 4 games this year in the National Hockey League. And I believe those are he's played 8 NHL games in his career.
Mm-hmm.
4 last year. He had a .911 save percentage, .276 GAA. He's got some pretty good numbers. It's only been 8 career games in the NHL, but the kid has looked really good. I don't think they're going to turn to Joseph Woll as a backup or even start him in a playoff game. Now, it's possible, Lepore. We actually saw the Florida Panthers do this, where they had Bobrovsky, I believe Chris Driedger, and then Spencer Knight, who was their young stud, and they turned to him in a playoff series. I believe that was 2 years ago, I want to say, when Driedger was still on the team. It was wild. They were just going through goalies, and next thing you know, Spencer Knight is starting a do-or-die playoff game for the Florida Panthers. Now, you hope it doesn't get to that point with the Leafs, because you hope that Samsonov is the guy. Like, as it stands right now, I think the Leafs would be insane if Ilya Samsonov is not the game one starter. And I
Mhm.
don't think they're going to yo-yo back and forth, even though I mentioned the home road splits. I highly doubt they're going to do that. Like Samsonov would have to play just horrible, horrible hockey in those first 2 games against Tampa for him not to get the game 3 start. Like, even if the Leafs split the first 2 games at Scotiabank, like he's starting game 3, unless he allows like 8 goals in those first 2 games, and the Leafs have to like win one of the games 6-4 or something like that. So right now, Lepore, it's Samsonov's net.
To be fair, I mean, is as inconsistent as Murray has been and how frustrating he's been for Leafs fans because of the up and down play and the injuries, it's not a bad backup play. Like the whole thing of, oh, you're screwed. I mean, people always make the point, oh, if the Montreal Canadiens lose Carey Price, they're fucked, which is true. But I hate to break it to everyone, if most teams lose their starting goalie, they're fucked. It's going to take a hell of a mountain to overcome. In our case, I mean, I'm not going to say I'll be all gung-ho about it, but to me, it's not that different. If say things aren't going well for Samsonov and Murray goes in, he's got experience. He's won 2 cups, as everybody knows. What I'm trying to say is there are worse situations than having Matt Murray go in there. For example, I'll put it this way: as well as Woll has played, the contracts aside, the reputations aside, let's say Samsonov went down with an injury in game 82, and we had to put Woll or Murray in game 1. Even if Woll was playing way better than Murray was down the stretch, would you go with Woll? Would you go with the kid? That's tough. And I'm not saying for sure I would or for sure I wouldn't, but that's controversial big time. And again, minus the contracts, minus the reputation, just to go with a kid who's played like 10 NHL games or whatever it will be at that point. But it's always fun in Leafland, as I always say, but I just think I'm on the same side as you. Well, that it's going to be Sammy and Murray is going to be the backup. I think this is a talk. Okay, this is a talk. Let's say the Leafs will go 2 rounds deep. Let's get confident here and cocky and say the Leafs go 2 rounds deep. What's the over under, or what percentage chance would you put on Murray at some point in those 2 rounds getting in the net?
Interesting question, Lepore. I'm going to say 0. Because if the Leafs are cooking, I would imagine, let's say they're cooking in round 1. They take out Tampa in 5 or 6 games. I know, laugh at us all you want, because I think we all know that series is probably going to go 7. The Leafs could play like my men's league team, and it would go 7 games in the first round. But let's say they are cooking. Samsonov's the game 1 starter. I don't see Murray getting in the net, even if, they go into the first couple games against Boston, even if they go down Lepore, even if they're down 2-0 against Boston in the second round. Like, I still think Samsonov is the guy, and they're just riding him at that point. So I'm going to say 0. Honestly, I don't think Matt Murray gets into a game, even with the Leafs in the second round. What do you think?
I think it's an interesting discussion on, I mean, if Samsonov's bad, he's bad. It's an easy decision, but how bad would he have to be to make the switch? Is it kind of bad, average, really bad for us to kind of like lose confidence in him? Because how much has he shown us? I mean, let's face it, he's still a kid himself. And I mean, there's no real pedigree there. So I could see the switch maybe happening quicker than people think. And I mean, I don't think Keefe and Dubas would be the types to panic, but just a situation maybe, again, like let's say they go down 2-0 to the Bruins and it's 2 kind of close-ish games. I'm not saying I would push for Murray to start game 3, but I think there's
a conversation
like, there's a conversation at
probably
that point
turn to him at that point.
Exactly. Like it's more than other teams would if their starting goalie has them down 2-0 in the series. So I think the leash on Samsonov is not that long, to be honest. And to touch on what I said before too, these go hand in hand. Murray in that situation is not a bad play. And I'll say this, man, and everybody who plays sports can relate to this. It's clear, like, I don't think this is a hot take to say that part of Murray's up and downs over the last few years have not been because of talent. They're heavily because what's going on in between the years. The confidence,
injuries.
Well, injuries, yeah. But when he is playing, I mean, we always question, like, is he there? Is he confident? How does he look? To the point of me, what I was about to say about the people who've played sports before, those types of athletes, or almost anyone in general, if you really think about it, they're better in situations where they just get thrown to the wolves. You get told the day before you're starting, or you get told in the morning you're starting, rather than sitting there, the build up to the series, the build up to a game. For the guy who may be a little mentally sensitive, throw him out there because there's no time to think or worry about it. You're just going to play, and it is what it is. Right. So, like, I'm not saying the Leafs have like this strategy to let him know on game day that he's going in to face the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Boston Bruins, but that ties into how I'm not devastated by that situation with Murray, because I think he could thrive in that situation because, again, maybe I'm speculating, but with maybe what's going on between the ears.
No, you're right, man. It really could be a lot worse than having Matt Murray, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, as your backup goalie, who, despite the horrible stats since returning from injury, has actually looked pretty good at times and has made some 10-bell saves and has made some saves in some big moments where the Leafs really needed a save. Again, despite his .886 save percentage since returning from his injury. So the Leafs, the good thing, Lepore, is they have options, and I think they can just take it day by day leading up to the playoffs. Hopefully all three goalies stay healthy, and hopefully they just go with the guy who's playing the best come playoff time. It's as simple as that, and right now, that is Ilya Samsonov.